Hey, this is Jake Burns with the Bigger, Better Biz channel, and I'm here today to talk about probably my favorite area of marketing, email marketing. Now, why do I love email marketing so much? It's because every time we send out an email for ourselves or for our clients, money is coming in the door. We're getting new clients. Our clients are getting new business. Money is always coming in the door. Every time we send an email, and I'm just saying once in a while, every time we send an email, we're getting money in the door. So what we're going to talk about today, we're not going to just talk about what email marketing is. We're actually going to go in and find a pathway to go from having your account to getting an email out every single month in very little time. We're talking 15 to 30 minutes, depending on how in depth you want to get and what kind of information you want to put out there for your business. So if you're here for one of a couple of reasons. We're not going to go over that. Doesn't really matter. But the point is, what I found for past businesses that we've worked with and other organizations in the past is that many times doing email marketing or doing social media or doing any kind of marketing, people don't want to do it. It's they're focusing on their business. They're really good at training dogs, or they're really good at HVAC, or they're really good at pest maintenance or things like that. They're not great at marketing. It's not what they want to do. They got into the pest business. They got into the HVAC business or whatever. And the reason I think it's important to consider doing email marketing if you're not is because of this very simple concept. You're sending emails out, doesn't take a lot of time, and you're getting money back in the door. So we need to interrupt that pattern that you might have of not wanting to, or worrying that you might not be sending the best content, or worrying that you're pestering your customers or pestering your leads and they won't come to you. It simply isn't true. If they don't want to hear any more from you, they're going to opt out. And that's not a big deal, because if they don't want to hear from you and they opt out, well, they weren't a very good lead or a very good customer anyway. Or if they are a customer and they opt out, you know what, no big deal. They're still going to be buying your services. Just because they don't want to get your emails doesn't mean they're not going to buy from you. So not a reason to not email people. And the next thing is we're going to create a new association. That association with email marketing is with money coming in the door. Yeah. So the good thing about email marketing, and I'll say it again and again, is you send something out, money comes back in the door. You send something out, money comes back in the door. That's the association we want to have with email marketing, because in email marketing, that's it. I mean, it's really simple. We don't even have to be amazing. You don't have to be the best in the world at it. You just have to get something good out the door, and we're going to go over how to do that today. So let's jump in. All right, so we're getting started, and the first thing I like to do in the process is I always like to find an example of an email that I'm going to essentially rebuild. There's a basic template that you have. You can certainly use a template that they have in Constant Contact or MailChimp or wherever, but I tend to think, and having built quite literally hundreds and thousands of emails, that there's a very good process that you can have for almost any service business. And you can add or remove things from this, but if you get just these basics done, you can have a great looking email that's going to have good content that you can have faith in is going to bring that money in the door. So I'm going to go over kind of the basic template that I like to see. And this was built in a different platform. This is one of our sample emails that we have here at Bryan Capital Marketing. Happens to be for septic services, but obviously it's just a service business basis. So what are the things, and let's dissect this real quick before we start building it. We have our phone number at the top. That means when somebody opens the email, and in the email, say they're opening it on their phone, they can actually click on that phone number and they'll be able to make a call to you. They can also click on the service, schedule service online button. So what's the most important thing that we're doing in email? We're trying to get them to take an action. That action is to schedule service, to book an appointment, to get new coaching, whatever it might be. So I always like to have that as kind of a main call to action at the top. That's one of the first things that people see. Below that, we have our logo. And then we have kind of our main graphic. And this is not something you have to have. Personally, I like to have a large-ish graphic at the top of emails. And the reason for that is just style, just looking professional. And we'll go over where we make them. We make them in Canva. You can do them in Photoshop too, but Canva's a lot faster. And then the meat of the content. I like to have kind of a few tips in a monthly email for any service-based business that we do. typically written out relatively quickly. We can do some research on third-party sites that maybe have already kind of done this, and then rewrite it and make it our own. That way we don't get in trouble with any kind of copyright laws or anything. But we're finding kind of the most important things that are relevant around our business and giving tips for people. So, as an example, if this were a landscaping business, what we would be doing this time of year in, say, Virginia or kind of one of the mid-Atlantic states is we might be focusing on, okay, springtime is just around the corner. Here are the things that you should be doing for your lawn now so that you have a great lawn, come April, May, June. So that's just one example. And then, of course, leading into, again, in this case, an emergency. It's a very big thing, I guess, for septic services. So if you have an emergency, who to call? Just like the Ghostbusters, who do you call? And then here's how you do it. So you're going to be able to schedule service online. Again, that main call to action. We're not trying to complicate this. We're trying to keep this simple for a lot of reasons. We're trying to keep it simple because if you don't have a full team doing your email marketing for you, do you want to have to spend a lot of time on this? No. And we're also doing it and keeping it simple because that's the most important focus for your business, is getting somebody to schedule online. Now, other things that you could do if you have more time, you could push them to your website to read a longer article. Say you've written a longer blog on this, or maybe to a video. We use those kinds of things all the time. So you can push them to a video or something else. Second thing for a service-based business that I love is having a special offer section. What are we offering this month? What kinds of things do we have ongoing for our business? Do we have any kind of ongoing subscription service that people can do? I always like to have a section for that. In this case, two quick, simple things: inspection and consultation, which is just really lead gen, and then maybe a $20 off of some kind of special promo that you're running. And then the last two areas, main areas of the website, testimonials. So social proof is huge. And just showcasing, and we do this for pizza shops, we do it for service businesses, we do it for everybody. I think it's the best thing ever, even for retail businesses. I always like having testimonials in there because it shows that there are real people that are out there that are using this business. And typically we're just, we're making it simple on ourselves. We're not having to copy paste. We're literally going to take a screenshot of this from some third-party service like from Google or somewhere else. And then we're going to link out to where that is. And then lastly, again, what's the main call to action? Scheduling service and our phone number, having those things, and the basics about the business at the bottom. So we like to have kind of this base template, and now we're going to go and we're going to create it for you in Constant Contact. But certainly, again, you can do this in MailChimp or lots of other email platforms. All right, let's get started. All right, here we are. We're going to make a new association for you about making money, and that's with email marketing. So let's get started. I have a new account here, just a test account. And what we're going to go over the basics of email marketing, not just the design and how to create the email, but the basics of the content. So what's the hook? Why should somebody open your email and not somebody else's? Or why should somebody take 10 seconds out of their day to review your email? We're going to go over design, and then we're also going to go over the physical content, the content of the email, like we just talked about briefly before. So let's get started. First things first, you have to create the email, and we'll just click on that. And then you have to find the template. I like to find something very simple with maybe that we can do a little design on. So I'm going to find this basic note, nice and easy. And step one is finding the right colors. So you would go to your website, and you can go and you can get the exact color of this, the hex code, but you can also just get close if you don't know how to do that. So first things first, we're going to go to design, and we're going to get the basic colors done. So let's leave the background as a color. We're going to leave that as white. We're going to change the feature color to this. We're going to change the article layout border to the same color. We're going to do dividers. We're going to do like a light gray there. And then the fonts. You can adjust these as much as possible. Typically, Constant Contact has a pretty good idea of what looks good, so I don't like to mess with that too much unless you know for sure, because one of the problems with email marketing is you're sending this to somebody else. So even if you have the coolest font in the world, or a font that you love, like Arial Condensed Light, it does not mean that the person on the other end of this has that font. And if they don't have that font, the email won't look the way you wanted it to look. So even if a font isn't quite as exciting as you would like Arial or Times New Roman, at least you know that everybody on the planet probably has Arial and Times New Roman. So you know what they're seeing in the end. So we're going to change the article headlines as well. And now we'll make one more change. And that will be to the buttons. We're going to change the color to our same blue. All right, perfect. So now we have the basics of the email. We have kind of the top section. We have what buttons look like, and we have some basic text. So now let's create the areas. We go back to our design that we like here. So on here we have our phone number and we have schedule service online. So let's add that first. Very simple. We're just going to add some text. And I'm going to put our phone number. Okay. And I'm going to add a line and put schedule service online. I'm going to make this centered, kind of just a design choice. Then I'm going to add a link to it. And for now, I'm just going to use our website. But obviously, you would send it to wherever you can log directly on. So if you have a page on your site where people schedule online directly, or maybe they email you or something, you would have it go directly there. You wouldn't have it just go to your home page. Okay. All right. Good. So we can leave that as a white background, or we can change the color. In this case, I'm just going to change the color to black and then change all this font to white. There we go. All right, so now there's a logo here, right? So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to get a logo, and we're going to save that. Save image as to our desktop. And another thing we can do, one thing in Constant Contact, and this is just preference, you could literally upload the logo we just have there. The other thing you can do is create a design and just do your own custom size. Constant Contact width is 640 pixels, and typical height is like 75 pixels. So we'll add that. We'll paste in our logo. Get it centered, and then you can make it a little bigger too if you want. One thing on mobile with Constant Contact is the width gets a little strange sometimes, so I like to have a little white space on both sides for logos so that it doesn't take up just a ton of room and kind of overwhelm the user. That's different on other platforms. Download that, and then we can upload it. You can do some Canva work directly in Constant Contact. They don't have full functionality yet though, so I still do everything myself outside of it. We're going to insert it. Okay, and there we go. Then we can change the size, get to the size we want. Perfect. There we go. All right, so we already have part of it done. Now we're going to add the next main image here. We're going to make this full width. Click on it and see where I can. It's a little adjustment. See, these adjust in Constant Contact. You click one and then you can make it full width. Without that, it won't let you give full width. And you see how there's a little space on either side? You can also get rid of that so that it's super tight. The space is super tight. All right, so we have that. Next thing we're going to do is go back to Canva. So let's just say that we're doing a website push. We're going to sell a website. So new website. We'll just do a search. I have no idea what's going to come up, but we'll find something good. And look, we're touting our new website, and here we go. So the colors aren't the best, so let's change some colors. I want to pull back in our logo. All right, that's black, right? So let's change some other colors to be, these are our kind of company colors, so we'll change that. Ooh, that's a little bright, don't you think? Change that. We're going to get rid of our logo. Then we're going to change this to white. We would find a new photo to put there. So we would take maybe a screenshot of our screen. And we're going to upload that. And then all we have to do in this case is pull it over once it loads. It's kind of a big file, so it'll take a little bit. See how it automatically moves it there? Okay, we're gonna make that. And now obviously if I had more time I would make this look a little better, but you get the idea. You pull in your images where you want them to be. You change the color of the items you want to change. And you change the text that you want to change as well. One other thing I like to do on these images is sometimes I'll add a call to action button. So you can find elements like see it now, or learn more. And pull that in. So I delete that text. Let's add our learn more button. We can make that white. Our new website. So again, in this case, for an actual email that you would be sending, you have to think about what is your hook. Is it a monthly tip like I talked about earlier for a lot of service businesses? Is it that you have a new website? Is it that you have a new video? Whatever that might be, that's what this main image is going to be about. It's going to be about kind of the focus of the email. The monthly tip, the new website, whatever that might be. So, yeah, maybe not my favorite design ever, but good start here just for a sample, and then we're going to download it. We'll download it as a JPEG to make it a little bit smaller, so it's not so big. And then we're going to come here and we're going to update it. But the most important thing there, as I was saying in Canva, is finding something close to what you're looking for. So as an example, if I was having a promotion, I would look for promotions. Or if I was having HVAC services, I would look for HVAC. And they'll have all kinds of samples and things to do. They'll have ideas. And then you just kind of scroll through and find something that makes sense for you. It's like 10% off. See, there's all kinds of ideas. All right, so back to contact. We have that in here. And again, we're going to change the link on it to our website. And you can do some other fancy things, segmenting people who click. So maybe you do automatic follow-up or something else, but that's a whole other thing. We'll get to that later. All right, so now I have that basic, and now I have my hook, right? So the hook here, in this particular case, is check out the new website. So I'm going to go back to the subject line, and I'm going to change that subject line to the hook. Guess what's new? Change it to something like that. So we're trying to create something in their mind that gets them excited. Like, hey, I wonder what is new at Bryan Capital Marketing. Pretty simple, right? We're trying to create anticipation. People want to kind of finish the story, so to speak. So that's a good way to get people to open the email. You'll always see an increase when you have kind of a question there. Even if it's a couple of percent, yeah, it's more money coming in the door. Remember, that's the whole point of sending emails, to get money in the door. All right, so next step, now let's go back to our trusty template. So we have our basic image here. Now the next thing is we want to replace the text. So I'm just going to copy paste this text, but obviously in your case, you're going to go and you're going to say, okay, what do people say when they're creating a new website? What have other people said? Or just, hey, this is the most exciting thing since sliced bread. Check out our new website. For most service businesses, I love doing this concept of coming up with 3 to 5 tips that people would use that time of year. So in March, if you're a landscaping business, you're talking about getting ready for spring and the new season. If it's fall, you're saying, hey, you should be planting now. For next year, you should be planting your grass seed now. So really the time of year dictates the kind of tips that you're offering for whatever kind of business you're in, as well as where you're located, because an HVAC business in Massachusetts isn't doing the same email content as maybe one in Arizona or something like that. So for now, I'm just going to copy this text and paste it in just as an example. And sometimes in Constant Contact, there's some extra spacing issues, so you can kind of just work on that and get that done. And then next thing is updating the call to action. So let's change the text here to schedule service now. In our case, for this particular email, I would change that to see our new website, right? But again, just because we're making a sample here, I'm just kind of showing you how this stuff is built. Schedule service now, maybe book an appointment is another one. See the new website. All good ideas depending on kind of what your goal is and what the content is of the email. You could have a title here above that as well. It depends on how much you're describing in the main image. If you have kind of the premise of what the email is about in the main image, I don't think you have to have the extra headline because it's redundant. So, I would say you don't necessarily have to have that. So again, you're going to add the link here to the website. All good. All right, let's move on right along. Next section, special offers. So you can have a fancy wording there, like that's actually an image in this particular one. And you can go and you can make that in Canva. And the essence of time, I'm just going to do one here with the basic text from the platform. If I can spell. All right. So then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add those specials. And again, these can be images. Maybe you're pulling them from your website. Maybe you're creating a really cool image in Canva. As an example, you could type in coupon here and you can find coupons. So there's some cool looking coupons, and you can obviously style this coupon to make it look the way you want, and then do the same thing I did before where you're downloading the image, uploading the image, and good to go. But just as simple, you can get rid of the image on both sides or just do one of them and put the 50% off deal and then all the terms and conditions. So we're going to make this really big and all the text centered. Maybe change this color. Fancy. All right, so again, in the essence of time, I'm just going to copy paste it over here, but you could have a second promo or just one promotion as well. It's really up to you. And maybe change that text to be larger as well. Fancy. Some people like to add in dividers, not the end of the world. Sometimes that helps. See how it just adds a little division. Again, not something you have to do, and depends on the kind of email platform that you're using, how it will look. All right. Next step. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a check mark. So again, you can find a check mark in, you can create a new design in Canva and just make it 640 by 75 again. And let's look for a check mark under elements. And again, this is just a style preference that you want. Okay. I'm going to download that. We'd definitely be spending a bunch more time on this and making all those little elements look amazing, but again, we're doing this to make it quick for our just quick video here. I'm going to upload that file. Insert it. Not too bad. All right, then I'm going to copy this other section, the other header. Again, you can make this into an image as well. Just depends what you're looking for style-wise. you have a lot more leeway as far as how things look when you're doing an image than text. Because again, like we talked about in the beginning of this part of the video, text, you can't put really fancy text in because many times the people who are getting the email won't have that type of font. So if they don't have the type of font, it's not going to work well for them and it won't look right. And then people will be like, why does it look like that? Why does it go to 2 lines? So you just, to avoid it, you can make an image or you can use the standard fonts. All right, so the next thing we're going to pull in is a testimonial. So I pulled up our company and we have lots of good reviews, thank goodness. Find one that you like and you can just screenshot it. If you need to know how to screenshot, you can just do a search in Google, how to screenshot on my PC or on my Macintosh, and it'll take you 2 seconds. You'll learn real quick. There's lots of different ways to do it. And we're going to pull that in. And I'm going to upload the image. You can go and you can add the text here as well if you want. I like showcasing the image just as it was in Google or other places, just because I think it adds some credence and some value. Because obviously people recognize Google and what it looks like, so they know it's a real review. If you just type it out, anybody could make any review up that they want, true or not, and put it in there. So we're gonna link that then back to where we were in Google. I just copied it. When I'm on here, I just copied up there and I put it in here. So that way then people can go back and they can see more testimonials. You can add a button below this, say, see more testimonials as well. That's one kind of cool thing that you can do. And then what I like to do next is I like to add in a button on one side or the other. It's your choice. And then the phone number again. We'll get rid of that image because we don't need it. And then we can link this out, schedule service now. Again, or whatever the main call to action that you have for the email is. And then link it. All right, so now let's add the link that we're going to do. In this case, we're just gonna send it to our home page, but obviously for you guys at home, you would be sending it directly to a page that matters, where you would be scheduling service online, whatever the main call to action is going to be for you. So we'll do that. All right, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a background color. Not something you have to do, but you can. And I'm going to change the text here to a white and increase the size a little bit just to make it look a little more direct line in here for the button and the text. Last but not least, we have the footer. So let's go back to our trusty template. We have some basics here. We have a footer, we have the license number. So for a lot of service businesses, you would have a license, and that's important. So let's add that first. And I'm going to center it. And then I'm going to copy this. Okay, and we're going to put the phone number. Okay. All right, so we have the basics there. I'm going to change that font to blue. Sometimes when you send it out, certainly on mobile phones, they'll change that to an underline and people will be able to link to it directly anyway. You can then add the business logo, or you can just type in the name of the business. It's up to you. And I'm going to add a little space above it as well, just to add some separation. Now, if I go back here to the template, you can see they have in the address. Constant Contact automatically adds that address, so I'm not going to bother with that. But I will add social links. You can add social follow or social share. It's up to you. I'm going to add social links, and you can change these. That's total preference of what you want them to look like. And then you have to add in which ones you want and where they link to. All right. I think I want the phone number above there. So, all right, very good. So now that's all we have to do. So now what have we done today? We've talked about what is the hook? What's the most important reason that somebody's opening this email? In this case, guess what's new at Bryan Capital Marketing? We have a new website. Most cases in most service businesses, I love doing tips. So I think that's very, very good and very important to always have tips. As an example, if you're a landscaper, you're going to be sending tips out about the time of year. But certainly tips in Virginia are going to be different than the tips in Arizona for the month of March. So it really depends where you are, what tips you're doing, and what makes sense in your business. But again, it doesn't have to be a book. Literally a few sentences. Keep it simple because that provides the hook and the content and the benefit from opening the email. And then from there, we have our call to action. We have specials. So we're providing value. We're providing something that's pleasurable to people. They're getting a benefit by opening your emails. You're providing them something special rather than painful. Like let's say they opened it and they found no value in the content. Well, that's pain. So they're going to do everything they can to avoid pain in the future, which means they won't open your emails as much if they think opening the email is painful. Whereas if you're providing that value, even if they don't want that value today, they know that in the future, the opening will provide pleasure, the pleasure being maybe a discount. You don't always have to give discounts, but it is something nice to do for people going forward. And then providing social proof as well, which showcases just like going past a restaurant. Other people are doing this, so you should too. We're a reputable service, we're a reputable business, and you would love working with us. So, and then of course, finishing off and having how to contact us and the basic information. Hopefully this helped. We went over a ton today. If you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to reach out to me anytime. My email address is jake@bryancaplan.com. That's BRYANCAPLAN.com. All right, well, we'll see you next time. Good luck with your marketing, and hopefully it works out for you and you get those checks coming in. You get all the money coming in. So, all right, thanks so much. Talk to you next time.